Sure.
Yeah, today we'll discuss about Svelte. We got to the code example, which is a very good example, Svelte. So before we dive into the Svelte, we have a different framework. For example, React.js and Vue. These two are more popular, and we definitely have AngularJS. So why somebody will prefer Svelte rather than other thing? Can you give some of your opinion?
So will you do or should I?
Go ahead, Amin.
So the main thing why we should use Svelte is because it's way beginner friendly than any other framework. So if you have a good understanding of HTML, CSS, and JS, then if you want to learn Svelte, within less than a week or something, you'll be very good at it. Of course, you will need to work on it and build project. The basic idea is there are a superset of JavaScript, but Svelte is a superset of HTML. So whatever you can do in HTML, CSS, and JS, like how you embed it in one, same thing you can do with Svelte. And the thing with Svelte is its reactivity is really easy. Dollar and a colon and some brackets, that's all. For promise handling is also very easy. You can directly handle promises in the HTML part. And Svelte is a compiler, so the final build size is also really less. So as it says on its page, less code, no virtual DOM, truly reactive, that all stands true.
Okay, excellent. And Puru, do you want to add anything? Why Svelte?
I have got nothing to add to it. Amin explained it perfectly.
Okay, thank you, Puru. Like if I want to start like set it up, can you what needs to be done? I mean, like how to get started if I want to
So,
use in a project.
so NPX is a package. Like, did it just what do you call it? Clones the repo and gives you the starter template that you can just start with. So either you can just do nps digits 12js slash template and just directly get the template. So manually setting it up will take a lot of time. So most people just follow the template and then build upon it.
So what is this NPX?
Npx is a package. As much as I know, it clones the repo and it makes it build ready.
To
And Puru can explain
more
that better.
exactly, NPX is more like it's a way to run binaries. For example, like in this, however, in this case, NPX can also find binaries registered on NPM registry itself. That is, the binary does not need to exist on your own system. What it will do, NPX digit here, it's going to find the binary of digit from the NPM registry, download it, and then run that binary on your local system to download Svelte here.
Do I need to install NPX separately, or once I install Node.js, it will come by default?
No, it comes by default with NPM.
So it is a part of npm and Node.js. So once I install Node.js from Node.js website, so it will come the Node.js runtime, npm, and this npx also, right?
Yes, exactly.
And this digit, is it specific to Svelte or it is something relevant to npx?
No, Digit is not even exactly related to NPX. It's more like a how do I say? It's more like a template starter thing. I mean, like you can use it to set up templates. That's what it's used. It's not specific to NPX only. Yarn can also use it. Yarn and other package managers.
So do I need to install or any npm module for digit, or it is a part
No, no,
of?
no, no, nothing. You just run this command directly, and it will work like magic.
So it is part of npx then. Npx recognize what to do once it is encountered digit, right?
Exactly.
So not only for Svelte, for example, any other random project template also it will initialize, right?
Yes, like npx create dash react dash app should also work.
Okay, okay, sounds good. So once we set up, and this is our project folder, I believe. So once we cd, and we can this standard thing, we can do npm install and npm run it dev. If you do, then that index.html file will be pop up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So sounds good. Now let's dive into some example. I think the Svelte is one of the very good thing I like about it. The example is very good. So can Amin talk about little bit about what this example is doing?
So in Svelte, what you can do is whatever the variables or something that is there in the script part or the JavaScript part, it can also be used in HTML. Therefore, it reduces the amount of lines you need to write. Normally in HTML, CSS, JS, you would be like one dot inner HTML and then something added to it. But in this case, you can directly apply the variable to the code in HTML. Therefore, it's decreasing the amount of lines of code.
Yeah, a couple of questions here. Like here we are using Svelte extension app.svelte. Can I use app.js and it will work magically like in Vue.js? Vue.js.vue
No,
is
it won't.
optional.
I don't think it will compile. Guru, what do you think?
No, it just won't. I mean, you can write configuration to interpret like this JS file as Svelte, but that just weird actually. Only Svelte.
Okay. So basically once, because this is kind of some kind of compiler, once we have to use Svelte just for normal user point of view, because we are just beginner. So it will result this hello world and also it will write this JavaScript code, right? So this conversion of the main JavaScript code is done by the Svelte compiler, if I am not wrong.
Yes.
You are quite right actually. It's yeah. Okay, good.
Do I need to understand about this Svelte code, JavaScript code to read it and to learn
No,
more about
that's
it?
not necessary. No,
No,
that's not
no.
necessary.
Okay, so I'll just ignore it. So let it do whatever it's doing for as beginner point of view, right?
You only need the Svelte file and the result to actually do something.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
feels like magic because if you come from the React world or some other framework, then you have to define a variable somewhere, then you have to use set state and reactivity, and there are lots of boilerplate code you have to write just to make this working, you know? You have to define a
Yeah.
class component, you have to define a function component, and you have to do lots of things just to do this kind of data binding. This is known as data binding. This name is binding to this h1 tag. So this templating syntax is more powerful. If you change it something wall to Puru, so I think it will reflect immediately, right? Hello, Puru.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yes, it
good.
will.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's move to the second one. Yeah, can you explain about what
Actually,
it?
binding can be done to more than the variable. Later, when you go, there is actually a section just for binding. You can bind inputs directly. The variable in script also changes with the variable in the HTML code.
Okay, sounds good. And about we are about the second part, dynamic attributes. What actually it is doing, I mean?
So basically, what happens is at times you have some source or link of the image you want to change a GIF later on. So in JavaScript, what you would do is you would have to set an attribute in JavaScript and then change the value, right? Here you are just setting the variable source directly for the source of image. If the source in script changes, the source of the image will also change.
Okay, one small thing I'm noticing, it is like sorted syntax because usually we define in src equal to source. Instead of that, we can directly put this variable as a curly bracket. So it will take care about it, I think.
Yes. But if the variable is something else, for example, the variable source is ABC or something else, then you will have to use source as equal to in brackets ABC, but whatever the name is.
Yeah, if the name is same, we
It
can
is
use
generally
like,
prefer that you keep the same name. Yes.
okay, sounds good. And what about the styling? Can we write all the CSS inside it? So is it a better practice to do that?
Yes, you will have, since it's like an HTML document, you can have script and style both in this world file.
So I'll create
Okay.
it. Yeah, Puru, go
Uh,
ahead.
Let me expand a bit. You can write styles in a different file and then import it, but the recommended way is to do it in the in the main Svelte file also. Is only why? Because in the main Svelte file, say if you write in the code, say like okay, so let me start. You see in the HTML we have a paragraph tag here, right? But say if we write a style for a div that doesn't exist right now, so it will actually warn us that this is selector does not exist. So it will actually warn us if it's written in here only, so it's actually going to be helpful for dead code elimination.
Okay, sounds
You
good.
can actually try this, like in style, just delete the P and write div there. You can see the console error.
Yes, perfect.
Oh, is it? Let me try.
See?
New CSS. The code won't run unless you remove it.
Okay, unused CSS selector.
I mean, the code will run, it's just a warning kind of. The code will still run.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, sounds good. So we can do the inline style. We can write the CSS file externally. Also, we can write the style inside here. But if you write inside
Yeah.
it, it would be CSS scoped to variable, so that it won't pollute like a paragraph from other file. Let's for example we have Svelte file, 5 Svelte file, and we define P tag and define some color. So this color purple will be only allocated to this paragraph. It won't affect the paragraph for entire other side, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
If you want to affect, then there is another way, like you can just write global in front of it and it will affect all the files.
We'll
Okay.
get to it.
So nested component, can you talk about a little bit nested component? What does it mean?
So nested component is basically another Svelte file or another component that you are importing in your main file, and just like how in React you make components and then you just write bracket and the component name. Same thing here, you import the component from other Svelte file. The entire Svelte file is taken as one component. So in nested Svelte, if you have P, header tag, and everything, right? So together that makes up one component that you can directly use in the main file.
So actually one Svelte component can be just simply a p tag, right? It doesn't need to have JavaScript or CSS if you don't want to
No.
it. So we can just hook some kind of HTML tag and it will become a Svelte component, right?
Yes.
So one simple HTML is known as also Svelte component.
Yeah.
Okay, so it will give some who are a little bit HTML, CSS knowledge also, they can start slowly. Slowly they can add interactivity in terms of JavaScript code, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And what does this import does? And
Yeah, like we discussed that nested.svelte is a separate component. So import nested, right? So it's importing that the entire file as one component and it is called nested. So what you can do is directly use nested in its own tag and make it its own separate element or a component, whatever you call it.
yeah, so for example, like paragraph tag, we can have the nested tag as also, because this is the file name. Here we will not define any component name. So whichever the file name, that would be act as a nested.
Whatever you import, right? So when you're
But we have
importing,
not
you're keeping a name, no?
but we have not exported anything here.
So no, the entire Svelte file is being imported.
Okay, so the name
The
of the component will
entire
be the
Svelte file
file
is one
name.
component.
So the name of the file
In the
would
file
be.
name, you can import anything. You can import ABC from this one, so the ABC will be the name.
Do you think that if you type ABC, it will work?
Exactly, it will work. Just replace the nested with ABC2.
Okay, so when ABC it is working, I believe. So here it is given an opportunity to name any component name, even though it is nested or swelled, but we can name anything.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
just
actually a good advantage when you want to arrange files in the main file. like along with the names of the component.
Yeah, it is bit different for me because usually, that import thing is be driven by the nested Svelte or in a normal JavaScript, right? Whichever that you are exporting, you can use a alias like as or something else, but the default name usually given in that nested Svelte itself, nested JavaScript. If you compare with the JavaScript import export, but that is fine.
Yeah.
Basically, we define a nested.js and better to keep it sync here. Better not to name unnecessarily to add more confusion. And if you see ABC here, we can't know that which file it is referring, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it is good. So what does this HTML text represent?
Basically, kind of like markdowning it, if it makes sense, because it's making that HTML in the p tag, adding that as an HTML. Like, I might not make sense. Puru, you can explain it.
Okay, so you see in the variable let string, you can see that there's some HTML in there. There's a strong tag in there. Now, what Svelte does, Svelte to prevent an XSS attack, which is in what XSS attack, you basically inject some code to, maybe I don't know, like something like harvest password or something like that. So Svelte by default, when you are use it when you are referencing a variable in the templates, it's going to escape it. That is, it's going to make it safe. So so right now here you see at HTML. If you remove the at HTML, it's going to render the strong tag as that only. See in the output, it's right now only how it was written. But yes, if you're sure that it's not malicious, you can put the at HTML in front of it, and it's going to render it just like it is meant to be, bold in this case.
Yeah, perfect. And this template string tick symbol is needed, or I can use double quote over here.
Anything, it's just plain JavaScript.
Okay, let me try with the double quote.
It's basically how you define a string in JavaScript. So there's nothing to it.
Okay, so there is no need for hard and fast rule that we have to use single quote only. We can use double quote or template syntax, anything.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. And I think we completed this introduction section. Let's move to the reactivity. Yeah, what is this reactivity is about?
It's basically keeping the variable updated and even the DOM updated. Like, whenever a variable changes in JavaScript, we want the DOM to get refreshed and, show the current value. For example, in the current REPL, if you see, counts the amount of times you click. So, for example, a count is a variable that's again and again increasing, and the inner HTML of the button is also changing, and that is only with 4 5 lines of JavaScript. Still, it can be less than that, but that's how it's being done.
Okay,
It's
basically,
actually pretty easy.
when we click this button, so this on, what is this on represent? It is like HTML specific or Svelte specific?
Okay, so the thing is, in HTML, when we are writing on click, we just write simple on click, right? But in Svelte, for anything like on click, on hover, or anything, you have to write on and then the colon and the thing you are referring to, like click, hover, etc. It's like Svelte syntax.
Okay, this is mostly similar with AngularJS and Vue.js because JavaScript having different mechanism. Sorry, React.js, but I think so. Svelte define its own vocabulary. For example, on, or we may have some different thing for different purpose, right?
Yes, and part of the reason it defines a different vocabulary is that it just fills it with super features. For example, like a lot of times you have to do event dot prevent default in your function, right? But here actually on the click, you can apply the prevent default right in the in what you are writing click. So you write on colon click 5 character prevent default, and it will automatically prevent defaulted.
So if I see here, for example, we have the E automatically will come, right? Because here we don't
Yes.
need to pass the parameter explicitly.
Yes.
So if you do that, let's see, is it printing something or not? Do you think it will throw an error because I'm not passing E over here?
We'll have to see.
Okay, click.
You'll have to open inspector.
Why this console is not printing?
Because it's like event will be very big, right? So it's not printing the entire event. So it's like open the inspector and you can see the entire event.
We can do something known as target. What's going on?
You
I
try to
think
open the inspector, I think you can see it.
Bro, do you remember anything to quickly see that?
you should open up the console to try it, maybe the dev tools.
Okay, both of you are suggesting that. Let me try. I was a bit reluctant to do that. It will undefined. Let me try only printing the E.
I just
Actually, if you just do console.log of E of just the event, it's working perfectly. I mean, in the console,
Yes, event is proper. That is fine. I think the idea is that
that's what.
it is like DOM event. Like this is a very foundational component. So even though we don't pass the parameter, right, we get that E, then we can access all the attribute properties from here if you want to manipulate
Yes.
about it, right? And here we define the
Yes.
variable. So before the code even executed, I think this will be initialized, right? And once we click the button, then it would be incrementing or decrementing, something will happen. Yeah, it's all good. I think we are good, right? So on click, this click is like same as the DOM events.
it's same.
Exactly.
So whichever the name we have hover and other thing, like we can simply give it.
Yes. So on is to then hover.
Okay. So let's move on
Yeah,
to
the
the.
other difference you can notice is on click in HTML you will be giving a string, but here you are giving it in brackets and the function name. So that's one of the difference.
Okay, so the curly bracket we have to remember to give, and we should not call this function like this, like this, right?
No, just the name.
This is the name we have to
If
give.
you're if you're doing it like this, you have to like do it like a arrow function, because on click is expecting a function, whereas if you directly put parenthesis on handle click, it's actually a value, it's not a function.
Yeah,
So,
now you can do the brackets, handle click and then brackets.
Yes, now it's a function.
so
Now
if
you
you,
can do one more thing. Remove
so
the function handle click and you can just do count plus equals one. The
will it
what do you
work?
call the button on click, right?
No, I want to
It will
increment
work.
by 10.
Yes.
Will it going to work? On click, I define a arrow function. In the handle click, I'm passing 10. So I'm just 10 will be go and increment with the count. So this count would see 10, right?
Yes, it will work. Click the button.
E is not defined. Interesting. Let me clean it up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so click 10 times is coming. 20 times. Yeah, see, I'm also learning this world real fast. Okay, that's a good idea. I think this is more or less similar with React.js, where we can just define the function and we can use arrow function to pass a parameter wherever needed, right?
Yes, exactly. And one of that it has over React is that in the arrow, like it's generally recommended not to put anything in the arrow function, but here it doesn't matter. Do whatever you wish to do.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, you can even remove handle click function and just add count from the arrow function itself.
Yeah, count plus plus. That's it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's like the simplest way you can do it.
So it will recognize the, but account I have not defined in the button, right?
Doesn't matter.
You can do it.
Oh, it's magic. Like it got and access to this variable. So we don't need this kind of function also.
No,
Uh,
that's the smallest code that you can do this thing in.
Oh, that's perfect. So this basically this variable will be recognized here and we don't need to define here and So the HTML we can write this increment, decrement, or we can set some toggle switches or something like that. Because I had to write more code.
yes,
Yeah.
so it
And
is for you.
yeah, this is sounds cool. Okay. Here little bit strange looking syntax has appeared like dollar sign lots of. So here, what it is doing?
So basically, what dollar and colon does is it makes the variable reactive. So whenever there's some change in the DOM, it refreshes its value. For example, count will increase, so double will also increase, and quadruple will also increase because they are based on the variable count.
So what is this double and quadruple? There is no let, no constant, nothing.
Yeah, so when you're doing dollar dot then the two dots, right? You're basically replacing it with let and const. So you can when you're learning, you can maybe consider it as same as let const and dollar sign for reactiveness.
Yeah, I think we have to slow it down a little bit and discuss a little bit more here. So I know how to define a variable using the var keyword or constant we can change or we can define let, count one, and we see that we can able to increment it. And we can display the value over here. So why on earth I need this dollar colon? Why can't I simply use another variable?
You wanna explain?
The thing is, you can see the button is actually incrementing the value of the count variable.
Yes, yeah, that I agree.
Yes.
Like count one, it
Now
is
the
incrementing.
now the thing is, like in that function, like say you already have variables defined like let doubled, let quadrupled already. The thing is, in the function handle click, you would have to, right now you're doing count plus equals one. Then in that function only you would have to write doubled equals count star two, and whatever the dollar statement is doing above. So you have to write it all there only.
Yeah, because
So
each time somebody click the function, I want to calculate double, I want to calculate quadruple in this code. I have to write 2 3 line code here.
yes, exactly. But the thing is, you can actually write side effects on this count variable. So side effects means, so the dollar, what dollar is doing whenever the count changes, it's going to see when the count changes, and when it does, it's going to run one of these reactive statements which starts with dollar. So in the first statement, doubled equals count star two. The moment count changes, it's going to set the value of double to two. And when the double changes, you see in the second reactive statement depends on the double. So here when double changes, it's going to change the value of quadrupled also. So it's a side effect base.
Yeah, sounds interesting. A different concept. And I think in the
So
reactive
basically,
world,
it's monitoring whenever count is changing, and then it is if those variables are dependent on count, they will also get updated. And the other
Yeah.
thing is, you have to do it in the handle click function.
Yeah, and if you're coming from React world, this reactive statement is equivalent to use effect in there.
Yeah, but the use effort is hell kind of confusing and complex. This looks very simple.
Yeah, and okay, a little more for those of you who are confused, like where is this dollar exactly coming from? Is it even valid in JavaScript? Well, yes, it's completely valid in JavaScript. It's just not at all used. It's very rare. It's only used for loops, but not anything. So Svelte, what Svelte is doing, it's actually hijacking this dollar syntax for itself only. So that explains
Hmm.
it.
And this dollar colon.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
that's the
perfectly
syntax to get
valid
it.
in JavaScript.
Okay, so this is you're saying it is a valid JavaScript code as well. So if I run into some compiler, it won't complain about it.
No, definitely not.
Okay, okay, it's a new thing and looks promising. Now I think we discuss about React declaration. Let's start about React statements. Yeah, what is this React statement doing?
Checking if count is less than or equal to 10, and if it is less than or equal to 10, it is assigning the value count to 9.
But again,
Sorry,
why
if it
we,
is greater or equal to 10,
but why again this dollar sign? We can put like if condition here only, right? This is
so
this is
basically
this
we're
is bit
keeping the
confusing.
functions clean.
This is a lot of confusion.
Actually, yes, you can put that if statement in there, but the thing is that sometimes when your components get quite complex, sometimes what's happening, one single variable is being changed from different functions and in different conditions. So you can put all the accompanying code everywhere. That's the thing. Like it would be some duplication. So that's why we are putting it here in the reactive statement. It more think of it as kind of a guard. It's simply checking the value of count and making sure that it stays in the bound in here.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'm not convinced because I feel like the related code we have to be better to keep it simple. And if this maybe this is not the right example here. In this case, it would be better to keep this code
Like Puru
inside here.
told, the better example would be when there are multiple functions. Because I have given something very easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Think of it as something like that, that sometimes, say in a practical example, say a value is, say a value coming from a text box is changing and you want to hit an API. So you can so you can set the API hit right here in the dollar. So whenever that property changes, it's going to fetch from the API and update everything accordingly.
Yes, yes,
Now,
yeah.
you can put it in a function accompanying it, but in putting it in dollar is sometimes actually better because it's kind of a guard. It's watching.
Yeah, yeah. I think it will take a little bit while to see some use case and but I got it what you're trying to say, Puro.
Yeah,
But it will take a little bit a while for me to really think through the best practices how to use effectively.
yeah. This part is quite new for everyone who jumps into Svelte. But yeah, once you get used to it, like it's the best thing. Like writing use effect in React becomes tardy actually after you are used to this.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. So this reactivity statement, not only we can assign it to variable watching, but also we can have some expression watching. I think whenever this expression satisfies, then only this code will execute, right?
Yes,
Yes.
and actually, I want to clarify a little more thing. You can actually make this reactive statement a block also. Block in the sense that sometimes you need to run many statements inside it. Like say if we didn't have an if, but we say we didn't have the if statement, but we still wanted to run alert every time and set count equals to this value. So we can actually wrap all of this in simple parentheses.
Okay, okay, okay. Sounds good. Yeah, it's
So
very
basically the if bracket, right? When no, you can try this actually. After the dollar
Yeah, right.
sign, you just keep two brackets, open two brackets after dollar sign.
after.
Curly
Close
brackets, right?
and
Yes.
and then close the bracket after the if, maybe.
like this.
Now in the if,
Yes,
yeah,
perfect.
add multiple ifs to it. Like if count is greater or equal to 5, something like that.
Okay,
You
go.
can actually see it.
Yeah, I think I got it. What I'm trying to refer. Yeah, let us move to next topic. But I got that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, this props is very fundamental. Like once we define this nested component, I think we can create our own key value pair, right? Can you talk about more about it? Is it different anything, or it is what is this export?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is going to seem very, very weird to anyone who comes to Svelte. How you declare props in Svelte is you just export it. That's it. Export, let answer, and this answer thing here. Now it's a prop.
But is it a
So
JavaScript?
yes, it's completely JavaScript. It's completely valid. And like what? Like again, Svelte is hijacking JavaScript for its own purposes. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine, and your linter won't throw any error about it. It's perfectly fine.
Hmm. So you define a
It's
couple of variable, whichever you want to make property, you have to just append this export there.
Yes, export let answer, and you can also provide a default value for it. So you can write export let answer equals to 10, and then this prop becomes optional. You don't have to provide it exactly. It's just like a regular JavaScript.
Basically, if they don't provide anything, default value, the default value will take place.
Yes, you can remove the answer property in here, and it will work perfectly. I think it will still be undefined, maybe.
No, no, no.
No, it will go for 10 because that's not a valid thing.
I just want to be a little bit naughty. I know that undefined it will take the default value.
Yeah, it went to the default value, right? It went to the default value 10.
Yeah, that is the expected one. I think it is doing good.
Okay.
So we can define a default value. So does this export will contain any side effect into the nested field? Does the behavior will change, or can't we manipulate it wherever we want? Because the property are read only, or we can change it.
You can
Uh,
actually change it, yes. You can work around with the export value.
Guru, you want to
yes,
comment?
what Amin said is completely right. Like, I want you to forget that you're working with Sweat and just think about how you do it in JavaScript. You can see here that this is actually a let. So you can change its value, you can reassign it later on. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter where you put this export let answer. You put it on top, you put it on bottom, wherever it's your choice. But you can manipulate it later on if it's a let.
Like,
If
for
you make it
example, in the P part, right, you can actually manipulate it like just write answer into 2. That should
yes,
work.
you can even put it in a reactive statement here.
Okay, because if you come from React or Vue.js even, the property usually are read only. Any property we
Yeah, it's a
pass,
huge difference.
those are read only. But here it will giving more control. If you want to make it read only, we have to define as constant. Or if you want to mutate it, we have to define it as late, right?
Yes, perfect.
Because see, if you provide rate, the whole idea that whenever the component is somebody want to use it, whatever the value we are giving, right, it assume that component will agree or accept the agreement that you will do the calculation based upon the value I pass. But if you able to change it, then you are just ignoring what is passing by the component, whoever it is using.
Yeah, I mean yeah, I mean you just like
You
it's
can use
kind
it
of an
as a fail
unspoken
safe.
promise.
For example, you have to enter between 10 to 15 and the person entered 16. You can be like, if answer is 16, return to the default value, like having the reactive statements in the first place.
Hmm.
But in React, since it's a constant, you can't exactly change the value.
Like
Yeah.
some like think of it as like say you have set the bound here that this value has to be between 1 and 20 only, but say the user is putting 22. Now one scenario you can actually throw an error about it, or you can automatically limit it to your value. So you see it's 22, you can automatically make it 20 and then work on it. I mean it depends on how you want to handle things here. It's all I mean, as I said, Swell gives you complete control. It's your choice of what you want to do.
Okay, okay. But it is good. Sometimes writing some bad code also very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks very good. So basically the idea is that we have to just plug this export wherever we want to make it properties, and we can use let or constant, and we can change the property value. And here it is same like key value pair, right? And we can assign the default value as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good. And here default value, like I think we already discussed here.
Yeah, we discussed that part.
What is the spread property? What is the spread property is about?
So instead of having like multiple properties, like for name is equal to this, version is equal to this, what this will do is it will just give up what do you call an object with all the values.
Okay, so this is nothing related to Svelte, right? This is a complete JavaScript feature.
Yes, completely JavaScript.
Yeah, so we define a option instead of passing like name equal to the package.name and version equal to, we are just using spread operator just to expand it so that basically in the runtime it will go and set all these values. And here also they're looking using export and using wherever they feel relevant, right?
Yeah. In fact, if you can you go back to that spread? Yes. So in that spread, you can put a comma after the spread pkg and then write name colon swed, just like in an object. So you can do that and name colon, I don't know, any name other than swed. Colon, no, name colon. It's an object.
Yeah, I always get confused between colon and equal to.
So it should work here also.
What happened?
Is it?
Something goes bad.
Okay, I think this part may not work. I assumed it would work, but I don't think it does. Okay. We are all learning.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
I haven't ever tried it. So in JavaScript you can change objects like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But here maybe it doesn't allow that much control in some parts.
yeah. So we have to be careful about understanding the limitations sometime.
Yeah.
But slowly, I think we'll get to it. Like once we started using it, it will be good. Yeah. So I think we covered the introduction, reactivity, and props. Props seems very standard and a different way to do that. Let's quickly discuss about
Now this is
logic.
the most interesting part.
Okay.
The most fun part.
Yeah. Can somebody give a brief about it?
So Puru, you wanna do this or should I?
You do this part.
Okay. So for example, in JavaScript, we have if, right? So if we check whether a condition is valid or not. So what Svelte does is you can actually do this directly in HTML part, and you can be like if some variable is true or if some condition is met, then you render this. If it's not true, you render this. So that's what it's basically doing there. So in the example, it's doing that if user is logged in, it is basically that toggle this one, yeah, user dot logged in is false or true, so it's a bool value. So if it is true, we want the first part to render. If it is false, we want the second part to render. That's basically it. It's just king, if like in JavaScript, there's no difference.
Okay, okay, sounds good. And also, it looks like handlebar syntax and similar kind of syntax used everywhere else.
Yes.
Okay, okay, yeah, sounds good. This is like some kind of
I
templating
think the
syntax.
reason why it's using different syntax in HTML is because, yeah, kind of similar to
Yeah,
that.
that's the best part about Svelte. Like it at least provides us with templates, whereas in React you are just doing this ternary hell.
Yes, yes, it is a bit sometimes confusing and irritation in React.
Yeah, here it's quite clear actually. It's a different syntax. Like okay, you will have to memorize that part, but the thing is, it's actually better in a lot of ways.
And also in like Vue.js and AngularJS, they use v dash if and put some condition here.
Okay.
Instead of one click,
We
right?
have basically
We
a
have
different syntax and simplifying it.
yes, yes. Yeah, like yeah, it's okay. It's good. And else also standard. I think here they're using why they use colon here. Here they're using pound symbol. Here colon and I hear it
Okay,
like
so
for
basic the thing is the starting and ending of the column, the entire thing, right? So is hashtag and slash. In
yeah.
between, for example, we're adding else, right? So for that we need the colon because it's not exactly something different. It's just part of the if tags.
This will give me a
We are not
tough
starting
time.
anything new.
I'll definitely forget about when to use what. Pound
It is easy. You can use the Svelte extensions for VS Code.
yeah, has
Very
if,
helpful.
start with if, and this colon I'll forget most of the time, I think. This would have only use has, say, else or something like that, but it is fine. And ending this if. Yeah, looks a little bit weird to me, but I think this if else condition is a bit obvious to most of the people, right?
Yes. It's similar to JavaScript.
Yeah, I think we don't need to dive into too detail. I think here also same thing else, and why this is space? In JavaScript also we have a space, or it is together?
Yes, we have space.
Yeah.
No,
We have
we,
space.
we don't have a space in JS, but here we have. I mean, these are just rules you have to memorize some part of here.
Because then it will lead to lots of confusion, because if you are muscle memory, if you're used to one way, to adapt, different way and finding out the issues, and it would be a bit irritation. But it is okay. But I'm just saying the level of frustration, because sometimes what will happen, I'll end up working React in some project and Vue.js in some project, and I'll come to here, and the juggling between the different syntax sometimes a little bit pain. I wish they will all follow the same vocabulary, same syntax, and little bit do this kind of magic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like every one of them should have this Svelte-like syntax only because I find it the most simple one.
Yeah, that's a little bit debatable.
Yeah, that is quite debatable.
Debatable.
There's Vue and there's Angular, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think this each,
Yeah,
yeah,
we have,
each gets this
This
is.
is basically like a for loop.
Yeah, can you just explain about a little bit about here, because these loops are very important.
So you can go for it.
okay, so you see here the hash, the pound each. So you can see in front of it, there's a cats as ID, comma name. So let me explain it a bit. The cats here is an array that we declared in the script tag just above on line number 2 here. Line number 2. Okay. And then you can see as, so what's happening after as, it's actually destructuring the current variable that we are getting. So what is we are going to do, that destructured part is actually meant to be one item of the cats array, like maybe the first item or the second item or the third item. And by destructuring, we are actually getting the exact ID and the name declared in the object. So that's what it's happening. And then if you go a little bit more, you will see a comma space I in the each block itself. So what I is actually the index of the element. So for the first item it will be 0, for the second item it will be 1, and so on, just like in JavaScript arrays.
Yes, yes.
It's going to loop through every single item.
Okay, okay, perfect. So this is looping through the item and creating the list item, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The
And
destructuring part is not necessary. You could do it as hash each cats as cat, and then you could, and then in here in the template we're using name and ID, you could do cat dot name or cat dot ID. It would work perfectly. There's the ID in the href too. A
so,
target href.
so it complain if you don't find it, or it is why don't it do some undefined?
No, it complains actually.
Yeah, it is good to complain.
Yeah, a library or programming language is as good as its errors, said some wise man.
Yeah, I think we're good here. And what is this keyed each? Is there anything difference?
Uh, Sorry.
What is this keyed each blocks?
The
Eid.
same thing as each with a few changes.
Okay, so let me explain that part. We saw hash each things as thing. Now here you see this thing in, there's a bracket and then there's a thing dot id we are referencing here. So what it is, we are actually assigning a kind of a unique key to every single item. Now this unique key is not necessary for every single item that has been rendered, but you should always do it, because it will make easy for Swell to differentiate and process when say one of the elements disappear or more elements add. So it will makes it easy for Swell. So you should always define a key, and a key should be a key can be just any unique string.
Yeah, actually,
So basically the same thing in JSON. If you're actually fetching from some very big API, you have unique keys for each. So this helps in differentiating what is what.
yeah, and the React says it is kind of mandatory. If you don't specify the key, it will complain like a hell lot of thing all the time. I had that one. So if you put
Yeah.
index, if you put I there, it is sometimes resolving, but still it will complain. I really hate that why this key is introduced, but I got the idea. I understand that the importance of it, but we have
It's not
something.
necessary. If you don't like it, you can avoid it.
Yeah, but as Puru said, right? In few cases, it has some specific purpose. But that is,
A rule of thumb, whenever the things array is like changing around, you should always put a key in there, always.
yeah, yeah, that's I agree. If you keep on deleting, adding, and removing and changing this order, so it would be beneficial. Yeah. Like, what is avoid blocks is about?
Oh
So
man, this is the
promises.
best part here.
Best, but it
So
is
you
scary
can go
part for
ahead.
me.
No, it really is the best part of Svelte, exactly. I mean, I think of all the frameworks really.
Yeah, can you bit simplify it because whenever I see avoid, I got nervous breakdown.
Okay, so I mean, you want to do it?
No, you can go ahead. You're more excited.
Okay, so first of all, let me lay the foundation. On line 4 in the script tag, you see there's this function, async function get random number. It's actually returning a promise. So a promise is something like if the value doesn't come immediately in a promise, you are actually waiting for the value to come. So now in most of the languages, what you have to do in JavaScript, you have to wait for this promise to resolve to give a value, and then you assign a value to maybe your markup in somewhere in. But Svelte actually provides you with an inbuilt templating way of automatically working with promise. Okay, so let's come to the line number 24 here. You see the pound await promise. The promise is the variable to which we are assigning the promise, which is, if you see on the line number 2, we are assigning the real promise function to this. Yes, okay, it's not xyz. Yes, so we are assigning the promise to the variable xyz. What it's going to do, it's going to wait for the xyz promise to resolve, but until it resolve, it's going to show the paragraph, waiting paragraph, the first item in the first block here, the first one just below wait. Yes,
Line
that.
number 25.
Yes, line number 25. This is going to be shown when it's actually waiting for the promise to resolve. Like say you are doing a fetch request, until the result doesn't come, it's going to show the waiting here. And then there's a oh yes, there's a colon then here. So colon then is when the value has arrived. The value has arrived. So we are putting that value in this variable number. Now the variable number has not been defined yet. On the line number 26, you can see the variable number. The number variable has not been defined yet. We are just defining it. We are taking the value from the then here. and then we are using this variable number in the template. Yes, right here. But sometimes the promises don't the promises don't always resolve. Sometimes, say a fetch request, it might fail, maybe because of network issues. So you have to show an error too. So here the colon catch, it's actually taking the error, putting it into the variable error, and then now we have the variable error to be used as we want to. Is that good?
So the basic thing is, if you have used fetch and dot then and everything before, this is very similar to it. The first line fetch something, that is the wait, that is actually waiting for the thing items to be fetched, and then is basically working on the fetch data, and then we are waiting for errors. Like if we get any errors, we are basically showing the errors. Other than that, everything is in the. It's basically good for resolving promises directly in the HTML part.
Yeah, just to summary, like this is the standard JavaScript concept. Like even though you go for Node.js or browser side, this is you have to know async and avoid what it does. So Svelte is adding this kind of additional goodies so that we can, if it is loading, it is taking lots of API. Let's say take 10 minutes. So the time it is waiting, it will print this message. Once it is successful, it will print this message. Once it is error, it will print this message, right? So this await case, then it is these three things this is added by Svelte.
Yes.
I think that's it for today, guys. I think in the coming days we'll discuss more about. Today we have covered like introduction, reactivity, props, logic, and in the coming days we'll discuss about events, bindings, lifecycle, stores, and so on. Let's see. Have a good day. Bye bye.